Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to another blood-splattered stream. I do not know exactly what we're going to do today. Probably a lot of talking. Maybe I'll boot up a game and play for a little bit. We shall see. But the point is, I am live right now and looking forward to seeing how all of you gorehounds are doing. So, let's do this. Now let me get the chat working on here again. All right. Greetings from the forgotten circle of hell known as Florida. Greetings, Tower of Death. How are you doing tonight? Hey, Bitter Troll. Hey, Dr. Waluigi. Happy October Eve to you, too. Hey, Lucas Oliver. Hey, Alexander Leslie. How are you all doing tonight? There we go. I think that'll do. Maybe put me over here for now. Just to make that a little bit easier. Since it's October in a few hours, yep, it shall be soon. Any of you got any October plans? We used to do like a haunted house garage thing, but we can't anymore with our new landlord. So it is what it is. We'll probably still do a Halloween party, though. That's kind of the extent of my October plans. I do have a concert I'm going to that I have to check to see when the dates are sometime this month. And I think I was asked to do a podcast later in the month. So I do have, I guess I have more plans than I realized on first thought. Hey, D-Man666, how you doing? I'm doing all right myself. Ben Better started my cybersecurity classes. Ah, I see. I'm guessing those classes aren't going well. Fine, I'm just finishing up an obscure horror movie from the mid-90s. Nice. Which movie are you watching? Doing great. I just watch your vlogs. Rock on. Rock on. Are you saying that you regularly watch the vlogs, or is there one that you just watched recently? If so, which one? Lots of Ghostbusters cosplay events and a big party in Toronto later in October. Nice. That sounds cool. Ghostbusters cosplay events have got to be a lot of fun. Hey, the King of Fat. How are you doing? 31 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 31 days till Halloween, Silver Shamrock. You're right. You're correct. Well, I have a tradition where I watch one movie every day in October, but I'm changing it up this year. Nice. That sounds fun. It's called The Fear from 95. Okay. Nice. The Fear. That sounds familiar. I might have seen it, but I'm not sure. I'm playing the New Horizons update of Sonic Frontiers. Nice. Nice. Getting your Sonic on. I can't wait for the new VHS 85. Neither can I. I am so fucking pumped for that. The last few VHS films have been phenomenal. When VHS Viral is like your only real like wet fart of a movie, your franchise is doing pretty well. I just saw the Amulet one. Nice. Nice. That movie's actually from a couple of years ago, but we happened to watch it in succession with two other movies that we decided to all vlog them together. That's why the last three vlogs have all been like similarly themed, because we happened to watch all three of these movies in a row and we're like, let's just do them all. Why not? I finally got to see Popcorn, and I'm still laughing. Nice. Do you prefer Mario or Sonic? I am way more of a Mario guy than a Sonic guy, but I have enjoyed a Sonic game here and there. I usually tend to theme my Halloween movies. Oh, you tend to theme your Halloween movies every year. Nice. That you watch. That makes sense. I'm playing Blasphemous, got to the second boss, kind of want to check out the sequel. I've never played Blasphemous. Plus, I'll be reading Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and playing Fatal Frame 4 Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Sounds like a good time. This year, it's all Lovecraftian movies. Ooh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of movies like that to go around. So have a good time, Tower of Death. That sounds like a blast. It also sounds like a descent into madness. Got my Henchman 21 cosplay today. Rock on. Rock on. Cosplay it up. I've been trying these new, like, ring pop flavored energy drinks. and surprisingly, they do actually taste like a ring pop. I was shocked. I guess I shouldn't be shocked. Ring pop isn't, like, the most unique flavor, but I've been kind of addicted to them lately. Which is both good and bad because they have a lot of caffeine, keeps me going, but it also makes me way more amped up than I need to be sometimes. Hey, Victor Necrofunk, how are you doing, my friend? As for Halloween plans, I have a few. I have a random draw system of 31 movies to watch, a movie each day with your friend Sunny. That sounds awesome. I hope you get 31 good ones. Based your first D&D campaign off of Dagon? That's awesome, Eliza. That's great. I love it. Was there mermaid sister fucking in it? Because if not, then obviously you need to add that next time. One big update. I just finished reading the 4th Friday the 13th book. Are they continuing to be good, Waluigi? How many of them are there in total, by the way? I'm curious about that. Oh, man. I've been currently editing the vlog for No One Will Save You. That will hopefully come out either tomorrow or sometime this week. Really good movie. Highly recommended if you haven't seen it yet. Exclusively on Hulu, though. So you got to have Hulu if you want to watch it. Or you got to, be very sneaky. Sneaky. If you catch my drift. I would never advocate that. No, never, sir. In all seriousness, though, in the age of streaming right now, with every single platform every single studio creating their own platforms and then like removing things at a whim, how can you not go the sneaky route with some things these days? Too many platforms, too many subscriptions, no guarantee that they're going to stay on the platform. It's a mess. Question, would you consider the Leviathan from 1989 a Lovecraftian movie? I actually would. It's not like directly Lovecraft, but it is like a amorphous sea creature with no discernible like look or face. The kind of thing that Lovecraft would have described in his own writings. So I would say it qualifies in the same way that John Carpenter's The Thing and The Thing from Another World in general kind of qualify. They're Lovecraftian inspired, if nothing else. No One Will Save You was great. No spoilers for me, so everyone is safe. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. You can watch my vlog if you want to see the spoilers when that comes out. But right now, just go watch it. No One Will Save You is one of the best horror movies of the year. Without a doubt, it's worth a watch. Hey, Josh, finally caught another one of these streams. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. Jacob, how are you doing? How you doing, my friend? They're still very good, though the 4th one does dip a little. There are 5. The first 4 are physical copies, but the 5th one is digital. Rock on. Well, hopefully next time I stream, we'll be able to get an update on that 5th one. And then you can give us, an update on how you felt overall. Lovecraftian equal oh shit from another world and it's spoopy. Yeah, to a certain extent. That's like one of the Lovecraftian tropes. There's also the whole cosmic horror thing. That's an element of it. Also, Lovecraft loved going insane stories that are like psychologically about going insane. Kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, actually. Hey, chat, what's worse? Have 2 young black dragons or 1 adult black dragon? Well, I imagine an adult would be the most dangerous, but I don't know D&D very well. I'm still happy with Tubi as it has much better content over... Yeah, that's true. Tubi has a lot of great content on it. If you can tolerate the ads, and you can tolerate the fact that a lot of their copies of movies are like the worst quality copy you can find online, Tubi's got a great selection overall. To be fair, the quality thing is mainly a problem if you're trying to watch like a really old movie. I tried to watch a couple like Sony Chiba movies on there, and they were like the worst transfers. And I know because I actually own the movie myself, so I know that there are better transfers out there. Have you heard about the Pet Sematary prequel? I have. I have mixed feelings about it, but I'll check it out anyway. Mainly mixed feelings because I'm just like, do we need a Pet Sematary prequel? Is there really anything to talk about there? But hey, they might surprise me, you know? There have been many times where I've been like, do we really need this? And then it turns out, yes, we did. Also, I'm planning on finally watching Batman: The Doom that came out, that came to Gotham. Oh, The Doom that came to Gotham. All right, rock on. Out of curiosity, have you ever considered making a Discord server? I actually do have a Discord server that I used a while back. It's still there. But I hesitate to link it to everyone just yet because someone else is moderating it and all that stuff, and I don't even know if they're still around. So yeah, I had one for a little while. My main problem is I don't have the time to actually like moderate and run a Discord server myself. I would need someone else to do that, and I can't really pay anyone to do that. And before, I had just a friend who was doing it. But yeah, there actually is a Blood Splattered Discord server somewhere out there. Yeah, I think it's just called the Blood Splattered Discord. Here's a super chat for you. What do you think makes an anti-hero? A good guy with a little bit of bad, or a bad guy with a little bit of good? Okay, this is a complicated question that requires tiers, because there's different tiers of anti-hero. There's the anti-hero that's basically like a protagonist villain. That is a character who is not a hero in the slightest and is closer to being a villain, but we're following them as the protagonist. There is the anti-hero who is a hero, but is mean and does bad things in the name of good. In this case, that would be something like Punisher. Punisher goes around murdering people, but he's murdering the bad guys for the sake of good. So he's kind of an anti-hero in that tier. And then there's the anti-hero that is just a person who's a traditional hero, but is an asshole in other ways. This would be the tier that you see most anti-heroes in fiction land, where it's just like, oh, well, they do traditional hero things. Like, take like Peter Quill, right? Peter Quill will just go out there and actually save the world, but he's kind of a womanizer who sleeps with women, and he's a bit of an asshole to his friends. That's like the third tier of anti-hero. And there's things in between that, but those are kind of the main tiers. I think depending upon which tier you're looking at, that question could go either way. A good guy with a little bit of bad in him would be that bottommost tier, the tier where they're basically a traditional hero, but kind of an asshole otherwise. And then a bad guy with a little bit of good is somewhere in the middle there. And then if you go all the way to like the top tier there, that's just straight up a villain that we follow. I have heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're going to see that your words are dangerous. Talk is cheap. Are you doing a song there, Ace? I'm not familiar. Oh, I would get so weird on your Discord. The Pet Sematary movies only focus on the second half of the book, so this is the focus on the first half? Oh, is that what it's doing? I did not realize. I thought it was like an origin of the Pet Sematary or something. Tubi is hit and miss for me. A lot of times I'll be looking for a movie and it shows up as unavailable. That can happen sometimes. That being said, even though that can happen with any streaming platform, and overall Tubi has a bigger selection than most platforms. Tubi actually reminds me a lot of what Hulu used to be. If anyone remembers, back in the day, Hulu used to be much like Netflix, a place that had like everything, but everything was ad supported, so there was no subscriptions. And then eventually Tubi became a subscription service, and it lost a lot of its old content, and eventually it got bought up as part of like the Disney deals and became basically an extension of Disney Plus. Overly Sarcastic Productions tends to do incredible breakdowns on the tropes like antiheroes and whatnot. Yeah, they absolutely do over there. I've seen some of those videos. It's good stuff. I don't always agree with everything they say, but they do really good analyses on tropes and like the types of tiers that tropes have, and like the types of differences and what kind of makes the tropes and what kind of breaks the tropes. The ECW theme from 2007 to 2010. Oh, gotcha. Reluctant Heroes falls under the anti-hero, I think. Yeah, Reluctant Heroes is like the bottom-most fucking tier. Like a great example of a person who does traditionally heroic things but is kind of an asshole about it, House on House. He's a hero in that he saves people's lives, but he's an anti-hero because he's an asshole to everyone while he does it. Did you ever watch Homicide: Life on the Streets? Way back in the day. I used to be like really obsessed with like Homicide, Law and Order, NYPD Blue, a lot of those cop shows, like the dad cop shows, you know, for lack of a better way of putting it. I used to watch a lot of those because they were on all the time on TV, but I don't watch as much of those anymore. Deadpool's another great example of an anti-hero. Yeah. He exists on that spectrum, you know. Sometimes, and Deadpool's great because Deadpool can alternate between just being a straight up villain to being a hero who's just kind of an asshole, depending upon the storyline and depending upon the writer. He can go either way. Good guy but an asshole. Yeah, Wolverine to the T, 100%. 100%. Oh, good. Wolverine to an A as an anti-hero. I see what you did there. The Commish, Michael Chiklis' big break. I remember that. Oh, Vic Mackey. Yeah, that's a great villain protagonist. most of those, I believe they're called like the difficult men shows. Those shows about very bad people, but are kind of like character studies on those people. Think like The Sopranos, The Shield, or even Breaking Bad to a certain extent. All of those are villain protagonist shows to a certain extent. I think the Red Hood is my favorite anti-hero, even if most of the Outlaw stuff was a little rocky. I honestly have not read much Red Hood stuff. I've seen some of the adaptations, like the animated adaptations, but I actually haven't read most of that stuff, so I don't know much about it. A as an asshole. That works. That works. Yeah, that makes sense. A as an asshole. That works too. I like watching those shows because a lot of famous actors got their starts in bit parts. Oh, yeah, 100%. You'll be watching like an old episode of Law and Order and you'll be like, holy shit, it's what's her name from the latest big blockbuster that just came out. Because, yeah, a lot of people, when they got started acting, are usually in those kind of procedural dramas as like really small parts before they got their big break in either getting a television show themselves, a part on a television show themselves, or in a movie. It's really cool. It's kind of like watching horror movies in that way. There's a lot of rising stars that you watch horror movies and you will have seen them there first, you know? Anya Taylor-Joy. Without The Witch, would any of us have known who she was? But she did The Witch, and then she did Peaky Blinders, and now she's like a huge megastar. And there are countless examples like that. Hell, a great example who did like the procedural TV show and then did horror movies and then went on to be a huge fucking megastar, George Clooney. Marissa Tomei was in the first Toxic Avenger. True. Have you ever seen The Campaign? Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis are in it. There's a scene in the movie where Will Ferrell is in a church and he gets bitten by a snake. That was hilarious. I have seen that movie. I'm actually a bit of a Will Ferrell aficionado. I love Will Ferrell movies. I don't put that in the top tier Will Ferrell movie list, but it's a good one. It's a fun one. If you like a little bit of Will Ferrell mixed in with political commentary, his best one is definitely Talladega Nights, but The Campaign isn't bad. Yep, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Sam Jackson, they were all in Law and Order. It's true. My favorite anti-hero is Jack Reacher. The series is much more like the books than the movies were. Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear the series is way more accurate than what they did with the Tom Cruise movies. Or was it Tom Cruise movie? Did they do more movies with Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher or just the one? I honestly can't remember. Have you seen this zombie movie called Dead Heist 2007? I have not, but I have had it recommended to me, so I should probably see it at this point. At least most of the horror movies... most of the horror movie stars still look fondly back on those days when they make it big. That's true. Yeah. Some do, some didn't, and then some came around to feeling that way years later. Because here's the thing. A lot of actors back in the day would get shit because they wouldn't embrace the fact that they got their start in horror movies. But that wasn't entirely their fault. The problem is they had to like bury that part of their past for publicity reasons, because audiences are fucking fickle and the press is fucking not like the normal press, but like the tabloid press is very fucking bitchy about this. And so a lot of actors, in order to maintain good public perception, try to hide the fact that, for example, hey, I'm Renee Zellweger and I was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generations. Because you end up in these weird situations where, say she does like a child family movie, and then all of a sudden all the tabloids are going off about, do you know that she was once in a horror movie and there was nudity and blood and violence, and now she's in your child's television? And so a lot of actors back in the day had to walk that fine line. These days, it's less of a problem. So even actors who back then kind of disregarded that part of their past, they now kind of embrace it in a way they didn't in the day. It can also affect the jobs you get offered, is also true. Because if you're known as the horror movie person, they might not offer you the romantic comedy. You know, I went on somewhat of a weird rant there. Would Patrick Bateman be a villain protagonist? Absolutely. He's kind of the definition of one, ain't he? Cruise did 2 Reacher films, one based on one shot, and the other based on Never Go Back. Rock on, good to know. People have such a hard-on for demeaning horror had such a hard-on for demeaning horror movies for ages. Yes, they did. My favorite Will Ferrell movies are Blades of Glory and Step Brothers. I fucking love Step Brothers. Blades of Glory is all right, but Step Brothers, that one's gold. Elf, Get Hard, or Semi-Pro? Not a huge fan of Get Hard. Semi-Pro is meh. I do love Elf, though. Elf is a classic. Kicking and Screaming? I honestly don't remember that movie very well. I'd have to rewatch it. Would you rather run into a xenomorph from Alien or run into the Predator? I'll be completely honest, I don't know which one I'd rather run into because I'm fucked either way. There's no way I'm surviving an encounter with either of them. The only way I would choose Predator is if it's a Predator that doesn't attack unarmed people. Because I know sometimes some writers do that with Predator. In that case, I just won't be armed and won't, present myself as a warrior. You got any favorite TV thriller movies from the 80s and 90s? TV thrillers. I'm sure I do, but off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank. What was the last time you talked to Brian Zane? We sometimes tweet at each other or X at each other or whatever it's called. But other than that, no in-depth conversations or anything. Also, a lot of actors were taking horror roles because they were their only options. True. Yeah. There are plenty of actors who probably don't really care for cops, but did cop shows back in the day because that was what was available, Well, controversy sells, but yeah, people really need to stop treating the horror genre as the worst thing in the world. True. Controversy sells if you're selling the controversy. Let me explain. Controversy sells if you're Alice Cooper and your whole goal is to drum up the controversy and to get people to come in because they're curious of the controversy. Controversy is more problematic if you're not trying to sell something that messy. My favorite Will Ferrell movie is Stranger Than Fiction. Oh, that's probably one of his best, for sure. Megamind and The Producers. Yeah, I love the musical version of The Producers. I fucking love it. In some ways, I like it more than the original, but there's also many ways I like the original more. So they're kind of neck and neck for me. But yeah, Megamind, Producers, good stuff. David Subuchi played a Japanese pornographer in Videodrome. Years later, he became a politician in Ontario, Canada. You best believe they used his previous acting role against him. Yeah, that's a great example of what I mean. Especially back in the day, roles you took could affect your entire career going forward. Even your career outside of movies, as that one kind of showed. Though, to be fair, that is a bit of a special case because in running as a politician is going to get you that kind of shit tenfold. Anyone besides me want to revive the TV event miniseries? I want to be honest. I feel like it's still alive, but we don't call it that. Like, for example, every Mike Flanagan miniseries on Netflix is basically the equivalent of those old Stephen King miniseries. You know? You ever watched a horror channel called Dead Meat? Hell yeah. Dead Meat rocks. James rocks. That show is fun. If we want the worst things in the world, we should really start focusing on Hallmark and shit like that. Yeah, there's some terrible shit on the Hallmark channel. Like, you grew up in the 90s, you remember the whole Sega versus Nintendo rivalry? True. Because I think that's coming back now, as there's going to be both new 2D Mario and Sonic games coming next month. I mean, the thing is, I still see that weird rivalry mentality to this day. Like, here's what will often happen on social media. A new video game comes out, and I'll see the video game getting some, like, absurd amount of hate, and I'll be sitting there watching, like, the trailers and watching the gameplay going, no, this game looks fine. I'll look at the reviews. The reviews seem to be fine. I don't know why people are reacting weird to it on social media. And then I'll find out later it's because it was like a PlayStation exclusive and Xbox heads hated that. And I've seen that happen vice versa too, where like an Xbox exclusive comes out and then people who are like PlayStation heads fucking go in on it. And so, yeah, that still exists to a certain extent. It's just not marketed that way, the way it was in the 90s. In the 90s, it was in the fucking ads. Now it's just mainly lives on social media with specific, like, obsessive people. If you watch either show, which do you prefer, Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark, I thought, was the superior show. That being said, I have a soft spot for Goosebumps. That also being said, the superior 90s children's horror show is neither of those shows. It's Erie, Indiana. Can't wait for House of Usher. Neither can I. My favorite dramatic performances from Will Ferrell is his performances in Everything Must Go. Oh, yeah, he's great in that. Absolutely. I'm not sure what I would consider my favorite dramatic performance from him. Stranger Than Fiction would be up there, but I know that there's like a big one that I'm missing, and my brain is just not fast enough to think of it. When I gave birth to my tumor, I had nothing but the Lifetime thrillers to watch, and I got -20 psych damage. First off, apologies for giving birth to a tumor. That sounds like an unpleasant experience. Second off, yeah, Lifetime thrillers are the fucking worst. Stephen Peace, who co-created and starred in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, became a state senator in California for 9 years. Crazy, man. Nice. I did not know that. I can't wait for new Studio Ghibli Boy and the Heroine. Oh, nice. I didn't realize that they had a new thing coming out. Looking forward to that. Erie, Indiana deserves a full-on reboot, but I don't really trust Disney with anything scary nowadays. Fair, yeah. Damn you, Erie, Indiana. I've sadly yet to see Erie, Indiana. I watched it like a few years back as an adult, and it actually surprisingly held up in a way that neither Are You Afraid in the Dark and Goosebumps did when I rewatched them as an adult. Because you know how sometimes you watch those kid shows, especially those shows that were on like Nickelodeon or something, or the Disney Channel, and you watch them as an adult and like you're sitting there going like, how did I ever not notice how terrible this is? And I'm not even talking about social issues here, though that's also a thing that happens. I just mean the overall quality of the acting and the performances and the writing. And the answer is because you were a kid back then. As a hosier, I agree with you about Erie, Indiana. Hell yeah. Horror Guru, do you know that there are Erie novels that are canon to the show? I did not know that. Cool. An anthology show that I liked as a kid but don't think holds up from is Tales from the Dark Side. Ooh, I like Tales from the Dark Side. I don't think every episode holds up, but I do think there are some standout episodes of that show. For 1 million, who are you spending the night with? Freddy, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, Chucky, Ghostface, Jigsaw, Pennywise, Annabelle, Patrick Bateman, or Leprechaun? I feel like the obvious answer there is Patrick Bateman. Everyone else in that list is either superhuman, there's more than one of them, they have some sort of supernatural power, and I don't want to fuck with that. Patrick Bateman's the only one who's just a normal ass guy, and there's only one of him. I might be able to survive that. The rest, I don't think so. Even Leatherface, normal human, but has an entire fucking family backing him up, right? It was like the birthing scene in The Brood. I scared my nurses by waking up in the middle of it. They asked if I was okay. I told them I couldn't breathe, then went back to sleep. That is beautiful. David Cronenberg would be proud. You gave birth to a Cronin baby. Thumbs up. Hey, Nick Infante, how are you doing? Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg were in 3 movies together. The Other Guys, Daddy's Home, and Daddy's Home 2. I like The Other Guys the best. What are your thoughts on those movies? The Other Guys is the only movie from that list that I really like. And The Other Guys I think is phenomenal. I think it's just a hilarious parody of buddy cop movies. Speaking of Ghibli, I bought a Castle of Cagliostro poster at a local con today. I know that the film is from Miyazaki's pre-Ghibli days, but I still love it. It's a classic movie. Can't go wrong with it. What are you talking about? Xenon Girl of the 21st century is pure cinema to this day. It's all about don't look under the bed, my friends. Like any long-running anthology, Tales from the Dark Side has weak episodes, but if you want a weak series overall, Monsters. I think even Monsters has some good stuff. I don't think all of them are good, but I think Monsters has some good stuff too. I think the only reason why I never saw it was because Eerie was only shown in the States, and in Canada, Are You Afraid in the Dark and Goosebumps were always on because they were made in Canada. Makes perfect sense. I'm actually watching season 2 of Tales from the Dark Side this year. Nice. Let us know what you think. Watching Child's Play 3 on Sci-Fi Channel. Child's Play 2 finished, though I wish they showed the alternate ending of Child's Play 2. Nice. Child's Play 3 is actually what I consider the weakest one of the Child's Play series, but I'll be completely honest. If that's your weakest movie, you're doing pretty good. A Nickelodeon show I watched as a kid for a bit was the original iCarly. As I entered my early teens, I quickly realized this is awful. Yeah, I was too old for iCarly, but I did watch that like 5-hour breakdown that one YouTuber made of iCarly. And yeah, it's about as awful as I expected. I still want a new reboot of The Outer Limits. Twilight Zone got it a few years ago. It's time for Outer Limits to get a new show. Every couple of years, they do another reboot of one of those shows. And I'll be honest, most of the time I tend to enjoy them. Do you think we should get an MCU-style cinematic universe with iconic slashers like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Chucky, and Leatherface? I mean, yes and no. Yes, in that I would love to see more Freddy versus Jason style mashup movies like that. But no, do I need it? I don't want it to be like the MCU where each movie is building up to this like major event. I'd rather it just be, hey, we're going to do a Freddy versus Jason 2. Hey, Chucky's going to fight Leatherface. I'd rather them just like have fun with that. Or alternatively, I would love for them to do a hack and slash series, either as a series of movies or as a series on some sort of network. They had to cut up the tumor to make sure it wasn't a Gabriel malignant. Oh. Have you seen I Spit on Your Grave, the remake? What are your thoughts? I didn't really care for the I Spit on Your Grave remake, to be honest. It's weird. I Spit on Your Grave is a classic masterpiece of a film, and the remake on paper should have been okay, but there was a moment in the remake where I was like, you know, movie, it's probably a bad sign if I'm watching an I Spit on Your Grave remake and I'm starting to feel bad for the villains. You might have gone too far if I'm having that thought. But overall, my big problem with I Spit on Your Grave, the remake, is I found it, instead of being unsettling like the first one, I just found it kind of funny. I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan, but I loved his movies Elf and Megamind, also his role as Mugatu in Zoolander, classic. I think he should do more villain roles. Yeah, absolutely. I like him in the villain roles he's done. Have you ever seen Will Ferrell in Land of the Lost? Yeah, I didn't think that movie was that great, to be honest. Danny McBride's in that one as well. Have you seen A Night at the Roxbury? Yes. A Night at the Roxbury is a very bad movie that I have a soft spot for because I watched it all the time when it was on TV. Just got through watching a stream of the original Salem's Lot, Rock On. I consider Erie, Indiana to be the unofficial follow-up to Hocus Pocus. I kind of see what you're getting at there. I can see what you're getting at. My favorite show is Drake and Josh. Josh, I'm sure you've never seen Drake and Josh as well. I have not. I have not watched any Drake and Josh. If anyone wants to see an old good fall Halloween-esque movie, check out Something Wicked This Way Comes. I love that movie. I love that movie. I'm trying to develop Shadow of Death, which is all about two people investigating all new slashers. You know, in case hack and slash never happens. Nice. Here's hoping that you get your development off the ground. Did anyone know about the reboot of Night of the Scarecrow that comes out this year? Oh, are you talking about that Scarecrow horror movie that's coming out in October? I forget what it's called, but it looked really good. I don't think it was called Night of the Scarecrow, though. It's from the director of 30 Days of Night and Hannibal, the show. David Slade. The new David Slade Scarecrow movie. Is that the one you're talking about? The original Twilight Zone remains one of my top 5 favorite shows. I've seen some episodes of the 80s reboot. Pretty good. I haven't seen enough of the 2002 and 2019 versions to have an opinion. All of them have good episodes and all of them have meh episodes. I still think the original one was the most consistent. But I don't think any of them were completely worthless, to be honest. I did check out the Junji Ito collection. Not it. Junji Ito. Yes. I don't know why that sounded wrong in my head all of a sudden. Would you rather spend the night with Patrick Star or spend the night with Cosmo? Like Cosmo the dog in Marvel? Because if it's Cosmo the dog in Marvel, I would love to hang out with Cosmo. Hey, Horror Guru question. Which is better, Outer Limits or the Twilight Zone? Or for a secret third option, the Night Gallery? The Twilight Zone is the best of the three, but the other two are great. Do you mean Dark Knight of the Scarecrow? Because if that's what you're talking about, I love that movie and would love to check out the remake. You get my son to call you daddy. I fuck your wife. One of my favorite Will Ferrell lines. Yes. Not a horror film, but have you ever seen / heard of The Beast 1988? It's an Afghanistan Soviet war film. I have not. I have not seen it. I have not heard of it. Is it any good? It's a reboot of a movie from the late 70s, early 90s. It's a revenge story from the guy who was Dr. Giggles. Ooh, I'll have to check it out. Have you ever seen Hubie Halloween? I have not. I'm not the biggest Adam Sandler fan these days. Younger me was more of an Adam Sandler fan. Older me doesn't really get much out of him. It's funny. The older I get, Will Ferrell remains hilarious. But the older I get, the less funny Adam Sandler is. Uncut Gems I did like. I like Adam Sandler in dramatic roles a lot, and I wish he would do more. I understand why he doesn't. He gets money out the ass for doing the comedies. Yep, the dog, rock on. Then I would hang out with Cosmo, the telekinetic dog. Speaking of Junji Ito, I gotta sell some films to scare up some cash. Came across my DVD of the Tomie adaptation. Nice. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow is the movie in question. I was not aware they were doing a remake of that. I'll have to check it out. The Beast is a very disturbing but powerful film. Very underrated. I would recommend it if you have the stomach for brutal war scenes. I'll have to seek it out. Thanks for the recommendation, Jacob.